Hello, everyone. Welcome to Leprechaun Alley. My name is Ray Carey Perillo, and Michael G. Perillo unfortunately isn't feeling up to par today, so it's just hanging out with me again. Um, as usual, I don't have any material prepared today, which hasn't been particularly helpful for me, but let's see how it goes. So, I was kind of looking at the sky a little bit. Oh, and by the way, be sure and hit that like button and subscribe if you like what we're saying or you just want to be nice and kind of see what's going on. Um, and also, if you would like personal readings, we did provide a link below where you are able to schedule your own appointment using the services that we offer. So we do offer personal readings, an initial reading, getting the chart prepared um, to begin with, and then we go more into specific questions later on if you have further questions. Um, and we use Western, Chinese, and Vedic astrology. We can use one specifically, whatever resonates with you, or a combination. And whenever we're doing the reading anyway, organically, certain things may come up from other systems, regardless, that might help color in more what we're looking at. So we end up incorporating no matter what. Uh, Furthermore, I have a 12-week program. It's called Soul Recovery. It was created by a woman whose name is Esther Nicholson, and she has quite an amazing story. Um, and this is really, it's a process by which we get to a place where we have this incredible state of radical self-forgiveness and an awareness that the mistakes that we make in our lives, I'm like, why can't I see you? Because my glasses are still on. But the mistakes that we make in our lives, and when we lie, when we're deceptive ourselves, and we hide things from people, it all has to do with a core belief that we don't believe that we deserve to be loved. So this is an incredible course. It's a really good house cleaning to help us connect to our core self. And if we don't always stay in that state all of the time, it still provides us a means by which for us to go back to the self-love state very quickly and hit the reset button. Because that's all we can do. We have to do whatever's in front of us, but at least we can hit the reset button and keep our toolkit full. Also, we just do the your birth name seed syllable, which is based on the nakshatra that your moon is located in at your time of birth, along with the pada. There are 4 individual padas per nakshatra. So each pada has its own sound. So a lot of people use that to name their children. It's always good as another mechanism by which to help connect us to our purpose and who we really are. It's always nice to have that sound available to us. So that's something we can do quickly to email to you. Okay, I think that's it. So, well, I wanted to just take a moment today, and I'm not going to cry through this whole show. Um, say a prayer for my dear cousin, Erin French. She was a young woman. She portaled out of here. She'd had a variety of health issues throughout her life. Um, Beautiful young woman. I could even say, she's a Virgo buffalo. So interesting enough, that would be a combination that would lend itself to someone who could experience a lot of suffering. Because the Virgo is a sign of sacrifice and also self-undoing. Um, and the buffalo is a sign of responsibility as well as suffering. Um, we're so grateful to have her as long as we did. I have such a big family that maybe those of you with big families can appreciate that the love that I feel or the connections that I feel, I don't get around to everybody and tell them. And Aaron was a blessing, and I'm grateful that I shared this time, space, place with her, and looking forward to seeing her soon. Okay, so we're kind of looking at a few things. Yesterday, Michael and I took a trip to, I mean, this might be kind of fun. We took a trip to see our friends in Shinnecock, along with a naturopathic doctor. So it was incredible. We never go anywhere. We did need a little break. That is, we live in Long Island, so that's Eastern Long Island. We're kind of just going for a little drive and looking at how beautiful it is and kind of seeing the beach towns opening up. And it's extraordinary. And we dragged Michael up several flights of stairs. That might be why he's a little winded today. So Michael and I were talking a little bit more about what's happening and transpiring between Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. I'm someone that, when I was younger, I was more likely to have a knee jerk reaction. And at the time as well, I didn't understand astrology like I do now. Um, and there are many that understand it much better than I do. But yeah, more of a knee jerk reaction to things that occurred, and that there was a more black and white angle to all of those things. And what I was thinking about is, while certain things we'll say are seem fairly straightforward and fairly true, how we handle those things, how we view those things, historically has been through a castigating lens. And what I mean is that we often look at things from the perspective of whether or not something should be punished or not. Um, like, when does something get to the point where, it's time to punish it? Or it's, or we qualify it in a way that it deserves some type of treatment that, is castigating. Um, and also castigation and punishing people, it's contagious as well. I think it's a quick dopamine hit. Um, it's a cheap way for us to identify with some arbitrary version of our own self-importance. And we are changing, but it seems to me that we need to review our entire legal system. And also, yeah, from the perspective, because Michael's more masculine about this and more assertive, of course, from the perspective that it's just such an economic racket. Um, it's a system that feeds itself, that really gets very little influence from those that aren't part of the inner system, of the workings of that system. And I will say that the need to separate those from that can live in society and contribute to society and not create disruption to the degree that it uh, overwhelmingly exposes the community to danger. Of course, as we're organizing ourselves, we do have to develop ways to sort of sift those individuals out and find a strategy and find a way to deal with them. That's that's where this stems from. And the functional nature of being castigating and punishing is really more for and why do we have a right to a speedy trial? Because if we're going to punish somebody, if we're going to castigate them, it should be swift. It should be swift and short term. Um, or at least the punishment should be swift, maybe not short term, but maybe we'll get there. Oh, golly, I was watching this gentleman the other day. I can't think of his name, but probably those of you who do hang out with me, um, you may know the story. He's an African American gentleman. I should take a minute and just look him up. Maybe I will. Um, who became friends of I think it's like the Grand Wizard or something of the KKK. I'm not sure. um, and over time, in the process of friendship, ultimately he ended up leaving the KKK. And of course, this is funny, right? Because this gentleman, I do remember his astrology, but I can't remember his astrology combination. I forgot his name. He's an Aries, year of the dog, 1958 dog. So something very interesting is that that's something that an Aries would do in general. They would say, you know what? I don't see why I can't do that. Let me go find out first. Because they shoot first and ask questions later. And that includes when they're being compassionate. So, and open-minded. And then the dog is the natural diplomat. So you're going to have a lot of that going on. And I think most dog people in general, we all figure we'll find a way to make people love us. So it's not arrogant. It's just that's just how we come. So we love them. Someone must love us. Anyway, so the conversation, what he said, a version of that, paraphrasing, was so beautiful. He said, as long as people, and we could replace that with communities, leaders, whoever, are talking or communicating, they're not fighting, they're not at war, they're not killing each other. That it's a well, right. It's not just about keeping a conversation going, but it's keeping a connection going. It's keeping a flow. It's keeping a channel. And I think that what has happened in society, and in my view, Michael isn't here right now to disagree. In my view, I really do believe overall that we are going someplace, that we are moving somewhere consciously, that this is happening collectively. Why do I think that? I think that because There is all of this conflict, and this is all air sign stuff too that's going on as far as, like, the chatter, like, so much chatter and banter, just communicate, communicate, da, 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 da. And their speech patterns and there are situations that trigger that cause us to be emotional, and we have all of this going on, and, all of those things are of concern, right? Because there seems to be a lot of anger and rage and that going on. Absolutely. But it's also true when we evolve, when we're moving to uh, a more complete state of awareness, of consciousness, our challenges and experiences um, actually escalate. They're It's sort of like a final. It's sort of like having to do finals, really. So those experiences escalate, and what's happening is that the world, at least in this airway and this communication way, they're escalating. And what's interesting as oh, I hope I don't alienate anyone, but because I have so much respect for people operating from good faith, I have my own form of ignorance. But there's so much argument about justice right now. There's so much argument about how sick and tired we are of how different groups are cruel to other groups, and other groups don't see things this a particular way, and baked into the recipe of that group is that other people can't exist at all, and that's what makes them members of that group. We have all of those going on. And somehow, right, somehow we can't get into an agreement about how we want to move forward. But everybody seems to be in agreement about people belonging in prison. There seems to be agreement there. Why? Because if there wasn't, they wouldn't be in prison. That's why, right? Pretty good. If it exists, something is agreeing to that. Um, Not consciously, not deliberately, inadvertently, but that's what we're here to untangle. And so going back to even starting with looking at what's happened with Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, I don't really know a lot about her background, but well, you guys know me by now, and even with the Will Smith and Chris Rock scenario, I really do hold my commentary back a lot because I like to give a lot of thought and a lot of weight to the context, what's going on in the culture, what's going on in the community. How did all of that factor into what informed whatever decisions at any given point in time that were going on, right? Because even if it is a trigger, right, we all have different triggers. The fact of the matter is everybody's triggers are organized in their own unique individual ways. And I want to jump on the bandwagon of, bad person, up your butt, you should have done this and you should have done that. It's really tempting. It's a really easy way to travel when I'm looking at the scenario. But what I'm thinking about in looking at them, and then also viewing my Aries year of the dog friend and how he reached out and befriended a member of the KKK and maybe a few members, I think, do we want X person to never forget what a horrible human being they are? Or do we want to imagine a scenario that may work better for each of them? And also, can we do that for ourselves? What if we looked at this as two people who are incompatible? I'm not dismissing the gravity of what happened in their relationship and in their marriage. That's not what this is about. Um, those are the things that they themselves have to live with and sort out. But when Amber is described as somebody who is very insecure, she's where because she's Year of the Tiger, where that insecurity comes from is fear of the unknown. And what's interesting, of course, is when you see her at first, right? I mean, Johnny is who he appears to be. Um, he's also Year of the Cat. So the thing is about Year of the Cat people or Year of the Rabbit people, when they make faces, when they express feelings, or when they express emotion, it's really hard for them to hide their face. It's all over their face. So they have to be more soft and tender and stroke people the right way in a certain way. that's um, that's just how they get through their life. They're I still always get the image of him swinging back and forth in the movie Benny and June, outside of the, asylum where, Mary Stuart Masterson was locked up as his girlfriend in the movie. That's the image I always have of him. Um, and it's perfect. I so I guess this is kind of an argument to have a little sympathy for the devil. That's I was just sitting here and all of a sudden that song started playing in my head as I'm talking. And what I think of is my mother, I was just thinking about this in terms of because I've known a lot of different versions of tigers. My mother's a tiger. She's a Scorpio Year of the Tiger. Um, she's she's funny, she's open-minded, she's playful. She can also be very authoritarian, like a very well, authoritative. This must be done now. She likes decorum. She I mean, now she really doesn't care because you know how what happens when the older we get, we could give a shit less what people say. Like, all right, well, I guess that's how you feel. You live with it, whatever, But when she was younger, it was important that you speak to her in a correct voice and not anal about it. You just don't speak to her incorrectly. You don't speak to her disrespectfully. That's important. Um, and what was disrespectful for her, it wasn't anything strict or rigid. It was just I'm a human and you love me, and that's how we speak to each other. So, but she also, I could say, well, I can see this part of the tiger when she wants to get things done and she's anxious and she's got to get the day going. She yells a lot. She was never verbally abusive. Don't even, not even. My parents have never said an unkind word to me ever. And I don't know if anybody else can say that, but that's true about my parents. um, so, so I can see that happening. Her getting anxious, her being frustrated, and because there's always a fear of the unknown, and if she's constantly staying in that state and then she's a metal tiger, then fear of the unknown is not knowing whether or not I'm going to get my clothes folded in 10 minutes before we have to go someplace else. That's like that. um But with her, it was, because I was a kid, so she's my mom, and I just do what she told me, and I'm a dog, so I'm obedient and all that. But with her, at a certain point, I started having a personality and a sense of humor, and we did get into fights. Um, but with her, we both lightened up. It was just another way that we connected. It did, like, because I got older and I became more emotionally sophisticated, our relationship changed, you know? And listen, I was not an easy kid. When I was a little kid, I was, but as a teenager, I was really, I had a challenge. I mean, look at me. I challenged everything. Oh, my poor mom. So, I can see the dynamic of our relationship changed, and she changed and she shifted. And my mother, I don't know too many people like her. Oh my god, I know, I'm gonna I'm sorry, but I have to say it because it's so interesting. She's somebody who has just grown and become more open-minded and more compassionate throughout her entire life. She eh, so yeah, but it takes them a long time. So here's the other thing. Tigers, they don't want anybody to get in their way when they're working. They want to hurry up, they want to get it done, they want to get the work done. All of it, all of it, all of it. My mom did not want a dirty dish in the sink, not because she was a clean for that, because she didn't want to have to think about it before she went to bed. I understand. Um, and then they want to lay down and go to sleep. And so once they go to sleep, that's it. They don't want to be bothered. So they want to rest. So we have this issue, and so my mom, it's going to be a little softer when she's a Scorpio, and it's going to be a little more gentle too because she's a metal. She might make a little more noise. um, and she's not, well, she's Scorpio, so she's also always made sacrifices for us with an Aries moon. um, so she's a little unusual for a tiger in a way. um, but yeah, so when I look at Miss Heard, what I see is ahead of her. And by the way, this is for entertainment purposes only. If things have gone as my understanding indicates, okay, let me qualify it in that way. She's going to have to go through a profound psychic transformation where tigers want to be. And she's really at a good age for it, quite honestly. This is really what she 30, 36. She's at a good age to start making this shift. Because tigers have fear of the unknown and they really do prefer security. They like guarantees. They really do. They're not big gamblers. Unless they're major goofballs, they typically aren't gamblers. Or they're not very cool about it if they are. Um, she's going to have to, what I see is that she's this really beautiful woman. She became opportunistic in the way that she was connecting to different individuals. I believe she was sincere and she found something. Uh, and honestly, it typically takes tigers a very long time to fall in love. and a very long time to fall out of love. Oh, hi, Sylvia. Welcome. So I feel for her in this way that in order for her to gain the security and the mobility that she has to gain, she really has to undergo a complete psychic transformation. Um, and forget that that was ever her goal. Because what tigers are looking for, and it's not just her, it's tigers in general. The tigers they want to know. They want security. They want confirmation. So that process, it's going to require that they expand their sense of knowing in order to inform their insecurities, in order to quell and soothe their fear of the unknown. So what I want to say moving forward is what I really hope to see for her is a hunger and a questing. And by the way, a lot of people hit this. This is sort of a dark night of the soul scenario, too. A lot of people hit this. So, what I really would like to see or hope that I see with her is a lot of questing, a lot of introspection, uh, a lot of a new way, a healthier way for her to soothe her fear or diminish the fear of the unknown. And how I feel for her is because we all, one way or the other, maybe not so publicly and maybe not so intense, but we all, in one way or the other, show our asses to the public. And the way forward, I guess, is that's what's going to be uncomfortable, you know. So I hope she lays low, and I wish for her that her fear of the unknown is satisfied in the most abundant way possible, and that will make everybody okay in the situation. So, gosh, by the way, I am taking live astrology readings, and if not, filling the airtime with things that are just popping into my head, things I've been thinking about over the last few days. Oh, you know something interesting? This might be uh, speaking of tigers, I guess I just have a lot of tigers on my mind. Oh, yes. I and my other dear beloved cousin who has just been cleared of her second bout with HER2 cancer is also a tiger. So we've had so much good news. It's been such a strange mix here. And the individual that I was thinking about today and I've been talking about a little bit is Alan Watts, who is also a Capricorn year of the tiger. Now, he was born in January of 1915, but because the first new moon hadn't happened, then he would still be part of the 1914 year of the tiger. So he's 2 years younger than my grandpa, who was an Aries year of the rat. How much fun is that? Oh my God. Um, So I think what's really interesting about him is the Capricorn and Year of the Tiger, and he's a wood tiger. So he's another one too. Who knows? Maybe that would correspond. Maybe that would help her through her own journey. He's also an Earth sign, right? So she's a Taurus and he's a Capricorn. That's something that might resonate. But he has, has some really interesting information. And then he's also, you have to listen to like, you got to filter out like the culturally biased stuff and all of that. And the man, I was 2 years old when the man died. So, speech patterns and what have you weren't what they are now at that time, as we know of all, all of the old writers. A few people have been eternal. That's true. Um, yeah, so he's another one, and he's really a marvelous philosopher. While at the same time, he also drank like a fish his whole life. You never know how the messengers come. You never know what they're going to look like. And of course, I don't want to like overcredit anyone and over exalt them, but I always hate to look at I always hate to look at something that might not be socially acceptable and dismiss the person and miss the message. And that's kind of going back to the castigating aspect of our culture. Uh, and really almost what we exclude, how we filter things out. So what I found particularly interesting the other night is just him talking about how, I guess this will tie into other things I've said in other shows too, how what happens so much in our lives, the reason that we keep asking questions, the reason that we keep talking, looking for a guru, looking for a coupon, looking for a Twitter feed, whatever, is is because we haven't figured it out for ourselves. And there is a process by which we can do that. He gave, I guess, a little anecdote, I think is that how you say it, uh, about the student asking the guru how to eliminate desire, and the guru telling him to go meditate on eliminating or on not desiring. And it came back to the guru and said, "Well, now I desire not to desire," and and how this goes round and around and around with us. And we ask ourselves, when do I know that I've learned everything I need to learn from the guru? And it's the question. It's an answer as simple as, well, when you stop asking questions. And of course, at the end of the day, the guru is us. And we just have these wisdom holders, these wisdom keepers who, when we ask them a question and they present us with a riddle, all they are is a placeholder or a little blip to go back inside and take a look at the question that we're asking and swim around in there for some more information and see what comes up. um, there's a place that I wanted to go with the placeholder for information. Well, the first thing that was coming to mind is thinking about the ways that each of us are connected that create harmony. And the easiest way for us to create harmony, because I'm just have the play going back and forth between guru and student in my mind, and I'm going back and forth in each situation. And the harmony that occurs between both people is an agreement that we're going to maintain harmony. There's a respect, there's a value. And if I run to the guru and I ask the guru a question and I'm presented with a riddle and then I feel frustration, that doesn't mean there's disharmony between us, between the actual quest that we're doing. I may have disharmony about the confusion I'm feeling in that particular moment. And I want to go back to when all is said and done, going back to I believe that our society is going through a transition. I do believe that our consciousness is being elevated. For me, that's what's presenting. More people know things and the same things. It sounds strange. I don't know how else to say it. In their own way than ever before. We have more in common than ever before. We want to connect with the world more than ever before. Maybe not everyone, but a lot more of us than used to be. And we're looking down the barrel of some really huge potentialities coming around the corner. But at least what the regular people believe we're fighting about, we believe what we're fighting about is human rights. Maybe I think my rights are a little more important than yours. Maybe I don't. I hope not. But maybe there's some of that going on. And that's where we're going. I see us. I I see I see less people in prison. I see less people in prison, and probably other people will disagree, but in the next 10 years, I just don't see that that's the social trend. As frustrated as I am, as clannish as I can be about my own views of things and my own tribe's perspective. Yeah, my tribe's kind of weird looking, but yeah, whatever that is. Uh, if change wasn't about to happen, none of these things would be present because it would be unnecessary. And of course, and we have so many ways to express this too. Like, what's one of the famous adages? Necessity is the mother of inventions or invention, right? That's true astrologically. That's true spiritually. That's true psychologically. That's a pervasive thread through every dimension. It just looks different in each realm. I could criticize a lot of people. I could pick a lot of things apart. I could say so and so isn't doing enough of this, and so and so isn't doing enough of that. But I do see that we're all doing something. There are still limits that our culture has. There are still things that it doesn't tolerate, even if they're making fun of something. There's this pervasive oversensitivity right now in the general public, particularly within the younger people. They're uber sensitive about things that some of us it wouldn't ever have been phased by before. And we do have all of these comedic ways to make fun of that and uh, compare and dismiss it. But it's precisely that state where we're the most receptive. We're the most receptive to step up, to move on. Hi, Linda. Oh, thank you. Welcome. So yeah, it's precisely at that place where we're willing to step up, where change it takes place. I view, and I'm sure I'm actually going to talk about Will Smith in this framework too. Even regarding what happened between Chris Rock and Will Smith, yeah, people printed things, but quite frankly, the way the way people felt about Chris Rock and Will Smith really didn't change all that much. Uh, the people that saw them, appreciated them, were fans, and I don't mean worship. I mean, felt a bond or a connection. Those people didn't change. They're still there. Will Smith, there were some consequences for what he did, but everybody was kind of like, yeah, he should have gotten jail time. And if it was a this, and then it would have been like, we had all of that going on. And yeah, and then there were some super lefty stations that were like, you shouldn't have asked the victim. You shouldn't have asked the victim. I'm like, okay, you know what? Chris Rock cares about them. Chris Rock didn't want any of that to happen. He didn't want any of those consequences. And I think we need a lot more of that. I think we need a lot more of that with each other. I think we need to see each other. We need to understand that we all have our bad moments, not that we're bad people. We need to keep talking to each other. Okay, well, was it the whole show? A little bit. A couple of times I got emotional. I'm happy that all of the clashing views and groups that think that whoever and whatever belongs in jail, blah, 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 blah. I am happy that our prison system is not inundated with those people. So, what I'm looking for now, and what I really want to just kind of leave everyone else with, is I want us to start looking for change. I want us to start finding change. Every day, I am committed less and less to listen to a problem, to listen to a critique of something, and join in without saying to myself, if there's a solution to this, what would it be? It's This is not Carrie being a nice person. This is Carrie emotionally detoxing. And if you've all been hepped up on politics juice and passion juice and all of that, then you probably know what I mean. So, oh, so today, well, there nobody needed readings today. I guess it was just me talking, and thank you for coming. Michael, I was explaining, Michael had a long day yesterday. We had a long day. It was very cool. But yeah, I'm nervous being alone. So, so what I really want to encourage is to look for change. Let's do our best to get out of our own way. And we're going to hear 100 criticisms of something a day. Maybe just commit to deliberately and consciously thinking of a solution to one. Like, oh, yeah, I was going to do that today. You know what? Yeah, like that. We're going to be okay. So, I guess I would like to close. I want to give a shout out. You know who I always forget to give a shout out to, and I want to give a shout out to him first and foremost today, is Dave Johnson. That guy is so cool. And I kept letting him slip through the cracks. Also, Black and Orange Tarot. Linda G, the Comanche Psychic. I really enjoyed her show yesterday. Whew. Psychic Violetta. I also love her beauty tips. She's incredible. She's like one of the most well-rounded people I've ever seen. Um, Sterling and Celtic Tarot, The Way of Positive Change, Intuitive View, Third Eye Champagne, and Joni Patry. And as always, all our love and travel light.